There are some very talented rookie players in the VCT Americas League right now. Some young players having their first full season in Tier 1 and have been impressing early. It is still quite early in the year to determine which of these players is going to be the best rookie by the end of the year, but I think it's still fun to look at how that race is looking right now. So this is the board we have today. We have 6 rookies today to talk about. Obviously, these are not all the rookies in the Americas League right now. There's a Team 2G that's entirely comprised of rookies. These are just 6 players that I think could contend for Rookie of the Year. And when it comes to the definition of a rookie, what I am assuming it is players having their first year in Tier 1. So while there's players like Mada and Brawk who have been around for a while and have been on certain teams, they have not played official Tier 1 LAN until this year. So Mada still counts as a rookie, even though he was on like Luminosity Gaming back in 2021, I think, 2022. But even so, that's a definition. Let's get right into it. Starting with some players on the Brazilian team MIBR. They are a team with 3 rookies that have looked very strong so far. Starting with Cortezia, who I think a lot of people are seeing right now as the frontrunner for Rookie of the Year. He has looked fantastic in Stage 1 so far. His kickoff was a bit inconsistent, but when he was on, he was really on. And so far in Stage 1, he has looked great. He's played 3 characters so far in Stage 1, all of them Sentinel. He's played Vise, Killjoy, as well as Cypher, and his stats are among the top of the board. He has the most kills out of any rookie so far. All of these players have the same amount of games played. He has 145 kills, 125 deaths, 36 assists for a KD ratio of 1.16. That KD ratio number is also second on the board, so he's looked great when it comes to just individual fragging. On a roll, that's more about anchoring sites with your util and your setups and whatnot, and he's looked great doing everything that a Sentinel is needed to do. In terms of rating, he's at a 1.09, very good number. In terms of ACS, he is 215. His headshot percentage, which is something that we saw from him in the offseason, was going to be quite high because at the only offseason event that he played in, he had, I think it was nearly 50%, maybe over 50% headshot percentage, which is just absolutely insane. And while I knew that that number wasn't sustainable, he still kept a very high number with 38%. His aim is incredible. He's very good at hitting those headshots, so that's a very valuable thing to have on your team. In terms of kills per round, he is 0.78, very good number there. In terms of multi-kills, he is 41 in Stage 1 so far in the 3 games that he's played. That is first on the board as well when you compare it to the other 5 rookies. In terms of 3Ks, he has 7, and 4Ks, he has 4. So he's very good at getting those multi-kills, whether it be 4 or 3, he's pretty consistent with it. So in terms of players that I think would be the favorite for Rookie of the Year, Cortezia is just easily up there. He's looked incredible. He's starting to get more consistent as well. That's something that I was a bit worried about him during kickoff, where he would have some maps where he looked great and then some maps where he would look not so great. But no player can be perfect, obviously. He's a rookie. There was going to be some time to adjust, but it looks like he's hit a groove so far and he's looked fantastic. Moving on to the second rookie on MIBR, we have Xenom. Xenom has been MIBR's resident smokes player. He's played Astra, Viper, as well as Omen, and he's been fantastic in this role. I thought he was performing better than Cortezia at kickoff. He was making some very clutch plays, had some very good maps for that team. He was a very important piece, and depending on the map, sometimes looking like their best player. Yeah, even over Ospos. And while he hasn't kept up that same peak, he's still been very solid for this team in Stage 1. He has 125 kills, 118 deaths, 77 assists for a key ratio of 1.06, which is good for a smokes player. When you look at smokes player stats in the past, you'll see even some of the top ones have a key ratio like below 1, maybe like a 0.90, maybe like a 0.95, but this man has been able to stay over 1 for quite some time. In terms of rating, he has a 1.02, which isn't going to knock your socks off, but it's still very solid. In terms of ACS, he is 182.4, which is tied for lowest on the board, but it's still a decent number for his role. In terms of headshot percentage, he's pretty good at that as well with 29%. In terms of kills per round, he is 0.67, also a good number. And for multi-kills, he has 30, 3Ks he has 6, and 4Ks he has 2. So he's clearly not as good as fragging as Cortezia or maybe some of the other players that we're going to be talking about, but he's still putting up really solid numbers for the role that he plays. Controller players are obviously not the players that you're looking to frag out and get all the kills for your team, but if you can get a player that can do that, and Xenom has showed that ability so far, it's very good to have. Definitely like what I've seen from Xenom this year. I don't think he ends up being Rookie of the Year, but I think he's at least top 5, which is why he is in this board. Moving on to the third rookie of MIBR, we have Verno, a player that was on a different team that we will be talking about later in Energy, and after having a fantastic offseason where he looked like one of the best pickups in the entire league, he had a mediocre kickoff and then was booted off of his team. Him getting booted off the team wasn't because of his performance, at least not entirely. It was more due to some kind of internal issues that Energy had with him. But right now it's kind of looking like a mistake on Energy's part to let this man go. He has looked really good so far for MIBR, having some very clutch rounds like that round in overtime on Lotus versus C9. So while there was concern about adding an American player to a Brazilian team because of the language barrier, that hasn't seemed to have been a problem. Their communication is still very good. Verno knows Spanish apparently, which we didn't know until recently, and he's picking up Portuguese very quickly, which knowing Spanish would help. They're not the same language, but they are closer to each other than English and Portuguese, so definitely helps. Looking at Verno's stats, they are quite respectable. He has 122 kills, 111 deaths, 64 assists for a KD ratio of 1.10. That is third on the board for that KD ratio. His rating is a 1.07. His ACS is a 189.6. Again, not incredible numbers, but respectable ones for those two. In terms of headshot percentage, he's a 26%, so he's closer to Xenom than he is Cortezia, but that's still a good number. In terms of kills per round, he's at 0.66, which is lowest on the board, so that's a bit of a knock on him. In terms of multi-kills, he has 25. In terms of 3Ks, he has 7, and he doesn't have a 4K yet. Verno has been MIBR's main info initiator player, playing Teo as well as Sova, and so far I think him on the Teo has been a very smart decision by MIBR. They really needed a player that could play that role. It's a character that is very meta right now, and he's picked up that character well and done a pretty good job on it, as well as being good on Sova. So while some of his individual stats might not be as high as Cortezia's or Xenom's, he's still pretty close. There are some things that I do think he does need to clean up about his game, but he's very good in the clutch, and he seems to be a pretty calm presence on that team, which maybe on Energy that didn't really work because all of the players on that team are always calm. So on a team like MIBR, which does seem to have some players with a bit more out there personalities, that presence can be useful. So I think Verno's been a great pickup. Obviously there was discussion about Noswer being kicked off another team with Ospas on it, and how that was going to make Ospas feel, because obviously with Leviathan that did not go well. But Ospas doesn't seem to care, at least not all that much. I think he wants what's best for the team. I think he wants to win, and these are very different circumstances than the Leviathan situation. So Verno, I think, was a great pickup for MIBR, and it looks like they are snatching up the opportunity to grab this player after Energy made the poor decision to drop him. We'll see what Verno's ceiling is. I don't think he's going to be the best rookie overall this year, but I think he has a decent shot of at least getting close. Moving on to a player on a different team, we have Vic, a player that seems to be gunning for that Rookie of the Year status. He's looked phenomenal for C9 so far, having some of the best stats on the board while being a smokes player. This guy has looked like one of the best pickups in the entire VCT Americas so far, being a part of tier 2 rosters before this, most notably MXS last year. In terms of players from that rosters that are playing in tier 1 right now, I think Vic easily looks like the best. So far in stage 1, he has 132 kills, 103 deaths, 91 assists for a KD ratio of 1.28. That KD ratio is the best on the board. Very impressive work from him. That's one of the highest KD ratios in the Americas in general so far, as well as his rating with a 1.23. In fact, that's good for 7th overall in the Americas right now in terms of ratings, so he's been fantastic when it comes to that. In terms of ACS, he is right behind Cortezia with that, with 214.5. In terms of headshot percentage, right behind Cortezia as well with 35%. Kills per round is tied with Cortezia at 0.78. In terms of multi-kills, he has 35, 3Ks, he has 8, and he has 3 4Ks. So Vic, as that smokes player, is doing similar things to Xenom, but doing them better. He's been a very effective smokes player. He's been great in the clutch. He can frag out when he needs to. He has picked up the slack for C9 when it's needed. When some of the players on that team that are supposed to be getting all the frags, like Oxy, are underperforming, he's been a bit inconsistent so far in stage 1. He's starting to pick it up though. Vic has been there to be that safety net for C9 and has been one of the main reasons why they've had a good record in stage 1 so far. If I were to guess, I think it's going to come down to both Vic and Cortezia for that Rookie of the Year status. Those two players look unstoppable right now, but Vic might just be a little bit better. We will see how things shake up for Vic. I think it depends on if this team ends up making it to internationals, because that's a thing that C9 has not done in a very long time. So maybe Vic is that piece of the puzzle that ends up solving everything for that team. Now moving on to some players on Energy, we have 2 rookies to talk about. These players I don't think are going to end up being Rookie of the Year, but they have an outside shot, starting with Mada, who I think if you were to do a poll before the year started of who you would have thought was going to be Rookie of the Year, he probably would have been maybe number 1, maybe number 2, but so far this year it's been kind of mixed results for Mada. He did have a very good kickoff. He was performing great for Energy despite Energy's shortcomings in that tournament. But so far in Stage 1, it's been kind of a struggle for Mada. Being the main duelist player on his team, he's meant to get those kills and make that space. And while I think he is pretty good at doing that, and some of his stats do show that he is doing his job, he maybe isn't reaching the expectations that were set from him when players like Finesse called him the best player in the Americas. Obviously, FNS is his teammate, so he's gonna hype him up, but still, I think the expectation was set pretty high for this player, but just hasn't been there. So far in Stage 1, he has 117 kills, 109 deaths, 33 assists for a key ratio of 1.07, so not a bad number by any means, not a fantastic one either. He's 3 points behind Verno, he's 1 point above Xenom. In terms of rating, he's 1.04, which is second lowest on the board, but in terms of ACS, he actually tops the entire board in that category with 232.9. So in terms of Valorant's in-game system of ranking players, he's the best in this entire class. However, his headshot percentage maybe is leaving a bit to be desired. He's at 24% with that, so not a terrible number by any means, but you want a little bit more for that. In terms of kills per round, he's actually number 1 in that category on the board with 0.80. He has 31 total multi-kills with 9 3Ks and 1 4K. Now, some of those better stats from him might be coming from the fact that he did kind of feast on Furia, a team that in my and many others' opinion is the worst team in the entire league. So maybe things like that ACS and kills per round are a bit skewed because of that match, but hey, a good match is a good match. So Mada at the very least has been a bit inconsistent. I think his ceiling is pretty much as high as any other player on this board. I think he can be a fantastic player, and if Energy starts rolling a bit, I think he will be. I think he is the most important part of that team if Energy ends up turning things around. It's not his fault that Energy are floundering, but he does have to be better than he's been, and I think he has the potential to find it over these next 2 matches, but we'll see what ends up happening for Energy. Very interesting team right now. Moving on to the last player we have to talk about, and the second player on Energy, we have Brawk. He was Verno's replacement after he was dropped. He originally wasn't going to be playing in Tier 1 this year, but the opportunity arose for him, which is definitely very good to see. Very happy for Brawk that he finally gets that. He's been a very good Tier 2 player for a while now, so him getting his opportunity, it's definitely deserved. However, so far in Stage 1, he's been decent, not great. Much like Verno, he has been their main info initiator player, but I don't know if he's as good of a Tejo or Sova player as Verno is, but he's been overall respectable. I think Energy's shortcomings aren't really coming from their rookies. I think it's coming from the more experienced players. Some of the composition decisions, the map picks, a lot of things that are not based off of these 2 players, I think, are the problem with Energy. But Brawk hasn't looked totally out of place. He has 99 kills, 91 deaths, 47 assists for key ratio of 1.09. So he's actually above his duelist player in Mada. He's 1 point behind Verno. He's actually tied with Verno in terms of overall rating with 1.07. He's tied with Xenom in ACS for lowest on the board with 182.4. In terms of headshot percentage, it is lowest on the board with 22%, and his kills per round is tied with Xenom at 0.67. Not terrible numbers by any means, but for headshot percentage, you maybe want a little bit more. Maybe his aim is just a bit behind some of the other players on this board. He has 21 total multi-kills, which is lowest on the board, but 7 of those are 3Ks. He has 0 4Ks. So overall, Brawk, I think, is a decent addition to this Energy team, but there's always going to be that comparison with Verno. Verno's been looking solid on a team that has been doing quite well, and Energy haven't turned their season around yet. Maybe if Brawk and Mada start to get in a groove, then that's when this team can turn things around. But as I said, these players are not the problem. There's a lot of other problems going on with that team, and I think if there are roster changes, it shouldn't be either of these players. If this roster fails and in the offseason they do a rebuild, I think these are basically the only 2 players that should actually stay. Sam as well, but I don't know if Sam was gonna go anywhere without FNS. So those are the 6 rookies that I have to talk about today. Who are your picks for Rookie of the Year? As I said earlier in the video, I think it's between Cortezia and Vic right now. Xenom and Verno are close behind, and I think Mada has an outside chance if he starts to heat up. So that's all I want to talk about today. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of this video? Please click like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.